Hi, thank you. Uh, Good morning, afternoon, everyone. We're going to start standing up today. This is rare and new. We usually always are seated or lying on our back. But if you're in Madison, it's kind of a cold spring, rainy day. And so standing up might save us from falling asleep on our backs or save me from falling asleep on our backs. So let's get started. We're finding just a standing, easy, comfortable shape. You can choose to have your eyes open. You could stand with your eyes closed. If you're in the room, you could turn and look out at the lake. And giving yourself a couple moments to intentionally slow your physical body down, allowing your bones to settle. And dropping a little more inward. And holding your body upright in relationship to your breathing. So what's the relationship here? You're standing and you're breathing. And when we, or I guess I should say, I talk about relationship, oftentimes if we're holding the body really rigid and stiff, the breath is going to feel differently than if we're standing a little more organically with some ease. And so the breath complements, has a relationship with the posture. And we'll take a moment to feel the posture, to feel your body, to feel your breath. And without looking down at your feet, noticing and feeling your toes. So you might wiggle your toes. You might shift weight side to side, back and front a little bit, but try not to look down so you can start to have a little different feeling or relationship with a part of your body you can't see. So you don't have to see it to feel it. And then we're going to try and find about the same amount of grounding and weight through the toes across the balls of the feet and into your heels. And we're just going to let your toes settle into the floor and try not to over grip like talon toes. See if you can let your toes feel a little longer and more lengthy, like rivers flowing out of your shins. And a lot like if we were lying back or sitting, remember that feeling of engaged breathing. So coming back into your abdominals. And that connection that when we exhale, the abdominals contract. And when we inhale, the abdominals have that eccentric contraction, they lengthen. So you might use some imagery like a balloon. Okay, as you inhale, filling up that space, there's width. And as you exhale, there's a release feeling. Maintaining a connection to that feeling through tone and strength. So 2 parts here, weight in the feet, a little more equal, and then engaged awareness, tone in your breathing, 3 breaths. We're going to add a part. We're going to find symmetry from your ears. So your ears a little more just level with your shoulders, your ribs, and your hips. So that symmetry through the core, weight in the feet, and engage breathing. 3 more breaths. And then can you keep those 3 points of reference, the feet, the symmetry, and the engaged breathing in your awareness? We're going to start to swing your arms forward and up, and then down and back behind you. So this is going to be the physical movement of swinging the arms. Now, with a little more awareness, we want to feel rotation in the arm bone. Okay, so as you swing your arm out in front of you, your arm bone is going to externally rotate. It's going to roll away from you. And then when you bring your arm to your sides and it goes back, there's going to be an internal rotation. So this might be your very first time exploring this arm bone rotation feeling. So going at your own pace for understanding. This might be your 150th time, right? So we're all really different. You might right away go, oh yeah, I can feel my arm bone rotating. I get what she means. Or you might be like, I've never done this before. So we'll do a couple more. So your arm bone connects in the socket by a ball. It's a ball and socket. You're moving that ball around, moving that arm. And then when your arms come up overhead this time, pause and come back to those places. Feet, engaged breathing, ears, shoulders, hips, a little more symmetrical. And then the arms are going to come back into extension. So shoulder extension, you're going to bring your arms back. And then abdominal rib connection. Try not to push your rib cage forward. Keep your ribs down and in. We talk about this a lot. And then pulse your arms back. So right now it's symmetrical. We're pumping the arms back together. This is going to give you a little stretch through the pecs and the chest. And then we're going to go arm. So like your right arm and then your left arm. Your right arm and your left arm, okay? When we go arm, try not to rotate, okay? So see how steady you can be through your shoulders, ribs, hips as you take a single arm back, going side to side. You might need to bend your knees a little more. Be aware of that weight in the legs to help find stability. You might need to come back to that tone engaged feeling of the breath in the abdominals. So we're trying not to move your pelvis, and then you can go a little bit faster. So you can take the arms back faster, but we're trying not to swing the hips, okay? So go at your own pace as you flutter your arms back. We'll do this for about 10 more seconds. So you might be going really fast, but noticing that arm movement, trying to keep the muscles around your spine down through your pelvis really steady so there's not a lot of swing. And then we'll slow it down and sweep your arms all the way on up. We're going to pull your hip creases back, bend your knees and fold over nice and long. Inhale, come all the way back up. Pull the hip creases back, bend the knees, reach, go for length and fold over. One more time, bend your knees as much as you need so you're not feeling too jammed up or tight in that low back glute hamstring area. And then we come all the way back on up to standing. And then we're going to bring the arms down by your side and do standing meditation for 5 breaths. So coming back to your experience. Might be helpful to reconnect into your feet. You don't have to look down. You can feel your feet connecting into the ground earth. Might be helpful to come back to the tone, that sense, that feel of engagement as you inhale and exhale. Or maybe the symmetry, shoulders, ribs, and hips. And when you feel your next exhale, say hello to your exhale. And then let your eyes open if they're closed. And we're going to step your feet wide. So you can look at me or you can face out to the lake, wherever you want to look. Heels are going to come in and toes are going to go out. Okay. So checking in again, can you look a little more, forward and feel your feet? Again, having that relationship with a part of your body you don't see. So long toes, equal-ish weight from the balls of the feet to the heels. And then we're going to just wake up your ankles, your knees, and your hips and go up and down in your sumo squat. So trying to keep your chest up. Feeling that grounding and connection through your legs into your feet. We'll do 3 more. Great. Next time you come up, pause. Come back into the feet. So right foot, left foot. And now without looking down, feel how your shins draw forward. And that starts to bend your knees and you start to squat down. So feeling the shin come forward. Now the shin draws back and you stand back up. Shin draws forward. Now, when you draw the shin back, be mindful to not snap or lock the knee. There's a couple of us here in the room snapping that knee when we come up. So grounding through the feet, weight stays pretty equal, front, back, side to side. Shins forward, shins back. One more time. Sweet. So now we're pretty warmed up. You can do this next one with your legs straight, or you can start to let your shins come forward and find a challenging, supportive place in your squat. So if you want to come down, we're going to hold the squat for a little bit, but remember, you can always come out of it. Okay. Then your arms come back behind you. Palms are going to face back. Ribs knit. Right? And then we're going to do our arm swing. So you're going to find your arm swing going slow or as fast as you want, trying to keep your pelvis really stable. Don't move your hips. So you could do right arm, left arm. You could do both arms together, but you're swinging the arms, trying not to move or rotate. And we'll do it for about 5 more seconds. You're pushing back, pulling forward. Good. How steady is your pelvis? Let the arms slow. Maybe squat down a little bit lower. Lift your heels. Bring your arms out in front of you. And then sweep your arms forward and up. If your heels are up, draw your heels back to come down. And pull your shins back. Ground down, stand all the way up. Hands come down into your hips. Great. Draw your hip creases back, tip over to a wide leg table, and come back on up. 2 more times. So anchor into your heels without losing the grounding through the balls of the feet, tipping and coming up. Just warming up. Try and move from the hips first. The head follows. Fabulous. And then coming up. Great. Bringing your arms out in front of you, parallel. So arms are going to open like a T, and we're just going to hold the arms open for a moment. Come back to those 3 places: feet anchor, balls of the feet, long toes, engaged breathing, shoulders, ribs, hips stack. So check, sometimes when we open the arms so much, we push the ribs forward. Have you done that? So that awareness of using those upper abdominals to help pull those ribs in and down a little more to get more length in your mid back, okay? So we don't have to push the heart forward so much. You can let it come back and soften. And we're gonna sweep the arms up towards the ceiling. And then bring the arms down into a T and sweep the arms up to the ceiling. And then bring the arms into a T. And now you're gonna tip into a wide leg table with a T-shaped arms. And then come all the way on up, sweep the arms up. Come back down to your T with wide arms. And come back up. Great, last one. And then the arms come all the way on up. When you get up, take a full stretch. And then let your arms come down. Great, and just step your feet together. And then again, we take 5 breaths, noticing whatever you notice. So coming back into your practice with curiosity, with kindness. Just pay attention to whatever arises from a place of curiosity and kindness. You can't do it wrong. And then notice what you're noticing. And when you feel your exhale, say hello to your exhale. And then let's, while we're standing, just define the core. So when we're standing here, in your own understanding of the core, bringing awareness across your shoulders, down through your ribs, down into your hips, and let's add your glutes and your hamstrings, okay? So bending your knees a little bit, let's bring your hands onto your lower ribs. Feeling your lower ribs, as long as you're comfortable here, let your lower ribs draw down and back a little bit. Okay, why? Because when we push the chest really far forward, we compress the back and kind of overcompensate by tilting the pelvis anterior, and it doesn't always feel good in the low back over time. So if we can take the lower ribs and draw them down and back, we have to use the upper abdominals, core support, core strength, and that's going to give the kidney area and this low back more length. That's what we're looking for. And then you can take your hands down to your hips and stabilize the pelvis, or help stabilize, or feel a little more stable in the pelvis. So your hips now stack underneath your lower ribs. Okay, we want to try and keep that connection of lower ribs to the pelvis as you pull your hip creases back and tip forward. So you're going to build a standing table and come back up. Try not to arch your low back as you come forward. So as you tip forward, resist gravity pulling your chest down or pulling your lower ribs. Can you keep your low back long and strong? One more time, we're going to end up in a forward table, and we're going to pause in that table for a moment. You can tuck your chin and look down at the ground. And then just like when you were standing, but now you're, in a standing table, find your lower ribs. Use your upper abdominals to keep those ribs a little more down and in. So are your lower ribs a little more in line with your hip bones? Then let your arms come down to the floor. Imagine your fingertips were heavy. Check this isn't too much for your hamstrings or your glutes. If you're feeling a lot in the back of the leg, bend your knees and then take your arms out into a T. Squeeze the shoulder blades a little bit and then let your arms come back down underneath your chest and pull out wide and lower your arms. Stabilize, remember, feel that strength through your core, stabilizing, strong spine. You're building strength here by keeping your spine in the same shape. You're not moving your spine, you're moving your shoulder blades. 2 more. Then when your arms are out into T's, pause. Remember your feet, you might have put a lot more weight in your heels. Can you bring some weight out in the balls of the feet, long toes? And with an exhale, you're gonna come all the way, sweep your arms all the way up to the ceiling. Full body stretch. Inhale, bend your knees, fold forward. Exhale, come all the way on up, full mountain stretch. Inhale, fold forward. 3 more from your breath. So you have the action down. See if you can do the action from the feeling of your breath. Next time you fold forward, pause. Bend your knees as much as you need. And then tuck your chin and look between your legs and just let your head hang. If having your fingers is on the floor is too much, bring them up to your hips or let them rest on your thighs. And then again, come back to your feet. Notice where the weight is on the feet. Notice how your toes feel. Come back to engaged breathing. Inhale, lift your chest a little bit. Back to like that standing table feel. Pull that navel up, get that rib abdominal connection, long mid to low back. Exhale, fold. Now step back, downward facing dog. So we'll take a little bit of time to build this first downward facing dog. Feel free to come down to tabletop first if that's how you build your dog. Bend your knees. So if you want a lot more challenge, take a really big deep bend in your knee and pull your hip creases way back. 2 breaths. And then we come all the way down to tabletop. And pause. All right, so building your table. We just did a whole bunch of building tables standing. So you might feel similar here. Feeling that symmetry across the shoulders, ribs, and hips. Working against gravity. Gravity wants to pull your spine to the floor. So using that abdominal core strength, resist that. Maybe use some imagery like there's a magnet on the ceiling pulling your head, pulling your spine up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to pause for just a breath or two so you can start to feel and notice your shoulder blades. So you have the right shoulder blade and your left shoulder blade, and you want to pin those shoulder blades on your back. And you want to let them soften a little bit down out of your ears. So take a breath, feel in your own way of understanding shoulder blades on your back. You can stay here, or you can float your knees off the floor, or you can step your legs back to straight arm plank. It's nice to see people in the room. If your wrists hurt, people are changing shapes. They're coming on their fists, they're coming down to their elbows. So do what you need to do to complement your wrists. So you're in your table, floating table, or plank. 2 more breaths. Exhale, lower back down to your knees. Sit back, shake out your wrists. So I was reminded in a class yesterday that it's almost gardening season, right? And somebody's like, I really need wrist work because I have to use those big tools What are those? I should know the name, but you can tell I'm not a gardener. Yeah, flippers, stippers, thingies, cutters. Well, I'm going to call them cutters, right? And it takes a lot of wrist strength. So when we come back to your table, you can like hold table with your wrist strength for like a few breaths. And then when it gets to be like, oh, this is too much, then change it to maybe your elbows or your fists. Okay, so we're going to do it one more time. You're going to come back to table. Challenge your wrists. It's not about how long. So it's about how it feels. So if it's, too much, right away, go to your elbows, but stay as long as you can using that wrist strength, right? You might back your knees off. You might walk your hands forward. So your flexion is going to be different than mine in your wrist. Then if you want more, you take floating table. You could take elbow table. You could take straight arm plank, just challenging your core a little bit. And then come back down, sit back and shake out your wrists. Woo. All right, downward facing dog team. So you can walk your hands way out in front of you for down dog. Okay, the farther your shoulders are back away from your wrists, the less flexion in your wrist. Okay, so you want to pull the shoulders, pull the hips back. Feel how strong all 10 fingers are. Just take 2 or 3 breaths. Try and let your head hang. And then we're going to walk your hands and feet together. Just come to your forward fold. Bend your knees as much as you need. Take your arms out nice and wide back into those T's and then ground down to come all the way on up to standing. Take a nice full standing meditation stretch, and then let your arms come down for 3 breaths. Noticing, feeling, saying hello to your next exhale. And then let's step your feet wide. So we've been here. 3 sumos. You could lift your heels a little bit. Lifting your heels will give you a little more challenge. Good, last one. Finding your left leg. So, don't even look, just go, okay, that's my left leg. We're going to internally rotate that left leg and externally rotate that right leg. So you're building your warrior 2 legs. And then before we move, we're going to come back. Feet. Don't just try not to look at your feet. Can you feel your toes, the balls of your feet, your heels? Can you feel that engaged abdominal breathing? And even in this shape, shoulders, ribs, hips, a little more level. Then bending your right knee, feeling the shin move forward, feeling the shin draw back, feeling the shin draw forward, feeling the shin draw back. Last one, next time your shin draws forward, right knee bends, pause. Great, so bringing your arms now out in front, parallel. Without pressing your rib cage forward. So finding that feeling, we just worked on it a little bit in standing, ribs drawing down and in, abdominal support, lift your arms up towards the ceiling. Did your ribs pop forward? Opening the arms into your warrior 2. What's the relationship of your rib cage with your hip bones? Trying to use a little more of that upper abdominal control and strength. Then we tip at the hip, right elbow to right knee, left arm comes up towards the ceiling. Bend your left elbow a little different and bring your left hand onto the outer left side body where your rib and your hip meet. Is your rib popping forward? Get into these obliques, get into this side body strength, abdominal, and try and pull the ribs down and in so they're not pressing forward. Excellent. Now spin your chest up towards the ceiling without popping your ribs up. Then all that control and strength, the left arm comes up. 2 breaths. With your inhale, pull yourself all the way back up. Right leg rolls in, left leg rolls out. Without looking down at your feet, feel what you can't see. You can feel your toes. Engage abdominal breathing, shoulders, ribs, hips stacked in symmetry. Left shin goes forward, left shin draws back. 3 times. Good. Can you feel your left shin going forward a little more towards your pinky toe? When we pause. So without looking down, can you feel your feet? Feeling your left shin. Just let your left shin go a little more towards your left pinky toe. Right leg is really nice and anchored and straight. Good. Arms going to reach out and up towards the ceiling. Try not to push your rib cage forward as you lift the pelvis, stretch the spine. Arms come down like warrior 2, and we start to tip elbow to knee. Fine, build your side angle. Right elbow bends, right hand comes to those outside lateral ribs. Okay, knit the ribs. Can you feel the rib abdominal connection right here? Rib to hip, rib to hip. Then spin the chest and maybe take your right arm up to the ceiling. 2 breaths. Next, inhale, pull yourself all the way on up. Keep your legs wide, hands come to your hips. Find your center of gravity, so lower belly, pubic bone area. Bend your knees a little bit. Okay, so stabilize your pelvis. We don't want the pelvis to move. Slide your hands up onto your ribs and then rotate your ribs around to the right, the center, and back to the left. And doing this just a few times, can you feel how your pelvis is not moving? Just the rib cage and the shoulders move. Try not to move your hips. So lots of low abdominal strength to stabilize. One more time to the right. One more time to the left. Back to center. Keep a little bend in your knees. Bring your arms out in front. Open like T's. Exhale, straighten the legs, swing the arms all the way on up. Good, hold your arms up. So if this gets tiring in your shoulders, bring your arms down, okay? Left leg rolls in. Right leg rolls out. Warrior 2 legs. Feel your feet, engaged breathing, symmetry in your shoulders, your ribs, your hips. Right shin comes forward, bending your right knee. And we hip tip, right elbow to right knee, left arm up towards the ceiling. One more time, bend your left arm, bring your hand to the outside of the left ribs. All right, just like when we were standing, remember we moved the rib cage? Move your rib cage around. So you're gonna find these left ribs kind of drawing back. The right bottom ribs Come forward and around a little bit. Left ribs are tipping back, right ribs are tipping forward or around. Then the left arm can come up. A lot more challenge. Take your right arm down, straightening it inside your right leg hip. And 3 breaths, you got this. Might feel how much strength you have in that right outer hip. Inhale, pull yourself all the way on up. Woohoo, right leg rolls in, left leg rolls out. Woo. Arms stretch up, you got this. Go at your own pace, left shin draws forward. Can you feel your left knee go a little more towards your pinky toe? Awesome, tip over, or warrior 2 arms to tip. Build your side angle, right? Feel all that strength. Send some gratitude into that left hip complex. It's really strong and stable here. It's gonna hold you up for a little bit. With your core, bend your right elbow. Bring your hand to the outside of that rib cage. So these right ribs are going to draw back a little bit and your left bottom ribs are going to swing around a little bit. You're going to find some rotation. Finding your rotation, then let your right arm come up. Maybe let your left arm come down. These are all maybes. You're building your own side angle. Ooh, stretch. Stability. Inhale, come all the way on up. Keep your legs wide open, your arms out wide. Sweep your arms up. And then let your arms come all the way down and step your feet together. Woo, 5 breaths. Hang out, take some time. Notice and say hello to your next exhale. And then with the next exhale, sweep your arms all the way out to come up. Pull your hip creases back, long spine, folding forward, stepping back, downward facing dog. Lowering down to tabletop. One more wrist challenge, okay? So if you don't have a lot of flexion in your wrists and you know this, they're pretty stiff, walk your hands out a little bit. That's going to take the flexion, right, out of the wrist. It's not going to be at quite the same angle as if your arm is right underneath your shoulder. Press your hands into the floor, strong fingers. You are pushing your mat away and you are resisting letting your spine go to the floor. Curl your toes, maybe float your knees up. Okay, maybe walk your legs back to straight arm plank. These are all maybes because maybe you're in tabletop. Maybe you come down onto your forearms. Connect into your core through your way of understanding where your core is with strength, and take 5 breaths. Right? Adjusting is called self-care. So adjust and take care of yourself. And then exhale when you're ready. You can stay here longer if you want. We're going to come all the way down onto your belly. So you're going to figure out, oh, I got a lower way down. You're going to bring your hands down by your lower ribs. And you're going to bring your forehead as close to the floor as you can. And then soften where you can soften. And see if now you don't get to see your back body. So we practice feeling our feet. Now we're going to practice feeling the back body. And you feel the back of your ribs. Can you feel the back of your shoulder blades? Going south back of your pelvis, hips, all the way down through your hamstrings, the back of your knee, your heel. Trying to keep your chest really close to the floor. Pull your toes out of your earlobes. So pull your legs really energetically long. You might even feel your hamstrings engage a little bit. Might feel some energy in the back of the legs. And then keeping the front of the hips and the pubic bone down, you're gonna lift and lower the legs. So you wanna try and keep your legs super long and straight. And just see if you can lift the legs up without compressing the low back. So still engaged. You can feel a little scoop navel to spine. We'll do one more. And then lower the legs. And then lift your chest. And lower down. Press your hands into the earth. Long, long spine, crown of the head moving forward. And you're trying to feel a little bit of articulation and movement between the shoulder blades and the back of the rib cage. And you can work in parts like this, or you can put both parts together. You could start to lift the legs and the chest together and come back down. 3 more. If you want a little more posterior back chain challenge, hold when your chest is up and your legs are up. Hold yourself up and take 2 or 3 breaths. So it's a little bit like locust pose. And then you come with an exhale and lower everything down. Hands can come underneath your forehead and just let everything rest that can rest. And then with curiosity and kindness coming back. Maybe you hear your breath, maybe you feel your breath. Checking in 3 full exhales. And then when you get to your next exhale, say hello, exhale. There you are. And then we're going to roll onto your back. And then as you come onto your back, if you feel your low back needs a little stretch, you could draw your knees into your chest and rock a little bit side to side. So we always take the last couple minutes for self-care. Some of us might be just ready to take a little break and rest. You could practice Shavasana. Others of us might want some quiet stretching. So if you want a little quiet stretching, feel free to take some time. You could stretch out your hamstrings, the back of the legs. I know people enjoy the figure 4 stretch where you take the right foot over the left thigh bone and bring the left knee over the hip. You might practice meditation. And so each one of us has this opportunity to check in with how we're doing, how we feel. And using the last couple minutes here to really take care of ourselves. Hopefully we can move in relationship, in awareness with our breath. And you can really use your breath for feedback. Your body's going to talk to you And so we practice listening. We practice responding with kindness and gentleness. We'll take the last minute and a half here in silence and come back and close class together. Just gently coming back to your body, breathing and noticing whatever it is you're noticing. And as you're noticing what you're noticing, guiding some of that noticing back to your breath. Let's take a nice long inhale and revisit, say hello to your exhale, and start to bend your knees. If you're on your back, feel free to roll over to the easiest side. And then either staying on your side for a moment or coming all the way on up to seated, just the awareness of the breath where you can't see it. You can't see the breath moving through the back, but you can feel it. So just give yourself a moment to feel, practice feeling the breath through your back. And taking a full exhale again, recognize, say hello to your exhale. We'll interlace your hands out in front of you and just take one big stretch up. Thanks everyone for taking time out of your really busy lives to be part of this community. It's so wonderful. Thank you and happy Tuesday.